Hey everyone. Sorry. I was on another screen, so I didn't see the screen right away. Sorry, I apologize.
Yeah, right. You there, you. No, go ahead.
It's me. Welcome to HockeyBuzzcast, the Buzzcast where I always feel bad. My wife like always busts on me if I'm wearing a hat because she's like, I know if you're wearing a hat, you just didn't even care to take a shower today. That's when you work at home, you don't have to worry about it. Like, because you guys, you don't have a lot of hair, so it's okay. Rush your
I was just about to say, I would normally try to wear a hat, but I'm embracing my lack of testosterone here.
No, I mean, I walk around without it. The thing
Oh,
is,
yeah, I mean, I see you all the time without a hat. But
I've always worn a hat, even when I had
yeah, right.
hair.
You're a hat guy. Even at the press box, you're a hat
I
guy.
got a massive collection.
Yeah, and I got some hats too. This is my Nashville Predators hat from last year.
I like it.
Yeah, but I usually only wear hats. Like my wife's not a big fan of hats, so like I only wear hats if I'm like just either like cleaning the yard or whatever. And she says during the podcast, she's like, you should care more than that, and you should. She's getting on me about this, so I will try to not. So I apologize in advance, but things are being crazy.
The ironic thing is I have about like a dozen hats, Leafs, Yankees, Bills, whatever. And the only time I ever wear a baseball cap is when I go to a local, AAA game or go to Yankee Stadium or the Rogers Center. I never wear them, so they're just basically gathering dust in my closet.
Oh yeah, it's. I mean,
I wear them all. If I don't wear them, I get rid of them.
Yeah, I mean, I can never find them. Like it's amazing. I have hundreds of hats, but I can't find them anywhere.
Oh, I have a hat. I have a hat rack where they hang.
Yeah. No, you had something pre-show.
I do. Okay, so
better than hats, Russ.
Better than hats.
All right, go ahead.
Whether people like this or not, or know this about me or not, I watch the WWE because I think it's fun.
Yeah.
I recently canceled my subscription though because they're having a live event from Saudi Arabia on Friday.
Yes.
And the biggest thing that WWE has done in the last couple of years is really push the women's division. Even before the Me Too movement, they really had done a nice job of it because they saw that they really, let's say, didn't ignore it, but didn't give it the kind of attention it deserved over the years. So now they're going to have a show. And, when it was first announced, it didn't really dawn on me, but I didn't see anything. I didn't see any matches, right? So I waited a day and I looked at the matches and then I realized they're all men. Why are they all men? Well, because women aren't allowed to do things there that women can do in the United States. And
like be scantily clad like they are.
But they don't even have to be. What if they said, hey, these women could all wrestle in unitards?
In burqas? I mean, they're going to wrestle in burqas?
No, not burqas, but let's say they said, hey, you can't wear what you normally wear, but you could wear like a, gymnastics outfit. That's fine. I mean, that shouldn't be a problem, right? The idea is the WWE now has taken a little bit of heat. So in the last hour, their answer is, well, we're hoping the women could wrestle there in a few years. Like they just signed a long-term agreement there with the hope. I have to tell you, if I were Vince McMahon or if I owned the WWE or if I was Triple H or any of those guys in charge, I would basically tell them, my women wrestle or we don't go there until they do. This is just a money grab and it's a bad precedent to set.
What is it called? The Rumble in the Desert?
It's actually called the Greatest Royal Rumble, which again, it can't be if there's no women in it. That's the, they've always been in the Royal Rumble in one way, shape, or form.
Wow.
So it's really, there's a lot of hypocrisy there and there's a lot of money. Obviously, some Saudi prince is paying a lot of money.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, when you own a network like that and you have fans around the world, you should have the guts to say, no, you know what? We're going to wait until you allow our women to wrestle. Right?
Now, what they should do is they should simulcast like a women WWE card someplace else. Bring back the fabulous Moolah.
Yes, I get what you're saying.
I'm sorry. Trish Stratus.
Stratus is good. Sure, yeah.
Yeah, bring them in and do that because I mean I think that's crap, and I think you're right. I mean, it may, do I think in a couple years they'll be wrestling in Saudi Arabia? No, I don't.
No, the answer is no, and that's why you don't do it. You're absolutely right. We all know better. Dad, you have a daughter. Like, again, I don't understand these people who tell their daughters, you could do anything, and then basically they keep them from doing things.
Now, on the media page, and I just found this out literally 5 seconds before we started the show. I was just scanning through Twitter to see if there was anything anything of note going on. And I really can't believe. And back in the day, I was a big listener of Mike and the Mad Dog out of WFA and in New York. It was my favorite show to listen to. Francesa was always a New York Yankee. Always talk the Yankees. Russo is on MLB Network now, and he's a big baseball guy. So it was a great show. They didn't talk hockey enough, but they tried sometimes. But anyway, Mike Francesa retired at the end of December, and there was always this talk about him doing something else. There was speculation about him going on satellite radio or doing a podcast or this or that. He was on Bill Simmons' podcast a couple times, and now all of a sudden it's come out that he basically asked for his job back at WFAN, and they shit canned the 3 people who they gave his job to. They got 3 months. They had a ratings book or 2. Their ratings went in the tank. Michael Kay and Don LaGreca on ESPN Radio in New York are killing them in the ratings, and now all of a sudden Francesa is coming back, and I'm like, oh my God.
There's more that comes to light here, though, Mike, and it's interesting because this is like I feel like we're like this is so like soap opera-ish. It is. Well, that's the thing. He had a farewell tour, and I maybe listened to one show of it, and they did that for a few months, and then afterwards, apparently there was like discussion of maybe him coming back, and he asked for a raise, and they flat out denied him.
Maybe I should do a farewell tour. Maybe that's what's going on. Maybe if we did a farewell tour, like, and then like everyone would be like, hey, and just people would just like see ya.
If I did, I was gonna say, if I did a farewell tour, they said don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out.
That's funny. I mean, now Don LaGreca, by the way, is a Hockey Buzz fan and a really nice guy.
And I met Don LaGreca at the season opener. At the Air Canada Center when the Rangers were playing there. Great guy. We talked to him about his show
all the time. And
he's a nice guy. At the end of the day, what the worst part about this, forgetting about show getting canceled, because a show in New York is going to get canceled with its low ratings. Francesa thought just because he was like doing a show with Russo that he could do the same thing Russo could and go to, like satellite radio or something and basically, they would write a blank check and welcome him with open arms, and I think he got humbled.
Russ, his show after Russo left was not as good. It was still okay. He got great guests, but it was not as good, and he was clearly running out of gas at the end of it. So I'm a little skeptical about this, but I have to say I listened to that show for about 15 minutes. The show that took over after he left. It was terrible.
Man,
and I 15 minutes and I was done. I was like, no, I can't listen to this. It was just banter. It was just unintelligible banter. And apparently Chris Carlin, who's one of the 3 hosts on the show, who used to be the producer of the Mike and the Mad Dog show, is not too happy because I think he left another gig to join this one.
Chris Carton?
Chris Carlin. No, not Craig Carton.
Craig Carton, right?
Craig Carton is still under investigation, I think.
Yeah, Chris Carlin. Well, actually, here's 2 things. Chris Carlin was here at 94.1 and left here to go to that job. He was here with Mike Reese in like the afternoons.
I've so lost touch of that. I don't listen to WIP anymore.
And Craig Carton actually has a podcast, and it's amazing that he has a podcast on iHeartRadio while this man is under investigation. Like, there are people who can't even break into the radio world.
Well, anyone can do a podcast. I mean, that's not like,
no, but it's on iHeartRadio. You can't get yours on iHeartRadio if you want to.
I can. I challenge accepted.
By the way, I have to correct the record. Yeah. Chris Carlin said the expletive not to Francesa, but to the bosses who rehired Francesa. So that's a little different. I'm sure they're probably still friends, but I'm sure he's not too happy that a 64-year-old guy decided he wanted to retire. He spent 4 months with his kids and then decided I need to get the hell out of here.
And that's that can happen. Down to, I'm sure.
I lived through that with my dad. Yeah. No, but I think the only one I ever really like, the only one I kind of, there's a couple guys that I respect at WIP. The one guy who's in the Flyers game all the time. He's really nice. He lives right around me too. Gosh, why can't I think of his name? Oh man. Anyway, but
I'm not going to the name because I don't think he's nice, and I'm not.
Okay,
so,
Jody.
Oh, no, you're talking about Jolowitz. Paul Jolowitz probably.
Paul
lives-
Jolowitz, that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, Jolowitz is a good guy. He it's funny, he lives really near me, so quite often we'll come back from the Flyers games and we're driving like 40 minutes, and then we'll end up at the same gas station because it's right off the exit, filling up our tanks.
Am I wrong to say that the worst thing you can do to be on a Philadelphia radio station is be from New York? I mean,
no, surprisingly not. I mean, one of their most popular guys of all time, Jody McDonald. That's another one. He was on
WFAN for a while.
Yeah, no, people have gotten past that. And Carlin was here, and I think he was doing a fairly good job. But then when they invited him back, he went back because that's where he's from, and they screwed him. I mean, that's
Yeah, no, actually, Philly's funny because the morning show, which is incredibly popular, Catali's from New York.
Yeah, and actually, John DeBella was on WLIR for years when I was in high school, and has been in this area forever.
Yeah, Morgani's from Boston. But everybody, these aren't Philly. They aren't Philly guys. I mean, they grew up, but I mean, I interned with both of them at the back in the 90s.
Buffalo's got that local tinge to it, though. It doesn't seem to like outsiders too much. I mean, there's very few. Howard Simon, I don't think is their morning show host is not originally from Buffalo. I think he's actually from New York City, but he's been in Buffalo so long that it really doesn't matter anymore. So anyway, but let's
Philly's different. There's something about Philly. The interesting thing about Philly, and I've learned this and the hard way in different situations, is Philly is a town that actually does, even though it won't admit it, it actually does have a thing for people who are from other places. Like it actually does.
I agree with that.
If you're from Boston or if you're from New York, sometimes you're cooler than if you're from Philly. There's like a thing about that, and I've seen it many times happen. Even though I mean, Philly should take no second. It should not take second, fiddle to those cities. But it does, and it doesn't. But it does have an admiration for people who are from other places.
I've been told that one of the reasons why I ever became notable in Toronto is because I had the Buffalo accent, which of course I can't hear it because I hear my voice every day. Right, but the accent of the sort of the Western New York accent, as opposed to people from Toronto, was something that made my voice stand out, I guess.
You know what I like? I like when radio stations, even in Boston, have "Bring Your Kid to Work" Day.
Oh, what's this now? Ty Anderson.
Ty Anderson on 98.1. Yes,
I know. Good old Ty. I know.
No, but he looks like he's 12.
No, he still looks like he's 12 here when you see him in person. I mean, Ty's the greatest guy in the world, but he's a great writer for us. And I'm so proud of everything he's done, and he's really done. And it's amazing because he wasn't like the best podcast person, but he's managed to like somehow really make a good career for himself in Boston radio. He admitted himself like he would always be uncomfortable doing podcasts, but now he's doing radio all the time, which is great for him. I'm really happy for him. Yeah. But he is, and
I just hope his cat doesn't walk across the screen.
No, he's doing this. He's been like in the student studio things and stuff like that. So he's really he's great. I mean, you get a chance to listen to Ty up there. He's awesome, and he does look like he's 10. I mean, you've seen him in person. Have you ever? You've been in.
I've never met him in person. No,
you haven't. I've met him a bunch of times.
Yeah, you met him during the finals up in Boston, and
during
it was
finals during the Winter Classic, a couple other times.
Yeah, he looks like he is 12 years old, and when he started writing for us, he
was 12 years
he lied to us about how old he was.
But Ty could skate circles around me.
He actually did lie to us about how old he was when he started with us, which is really funny. Like he was like 15 or 16. We thought he was 18. Something like that. So it was kind of crazy. And
Johnny Bauer lied to get into the Canadian.
No, and Ty's been an incredible writer for us, so I have no problem with it at all. It's just awesome. Anyway, that's the story.
Let's start the show.
Let's start the show, shall we? Hello, Hockey World. It's Tuesday, April 24th, 2018.
I'm a tired Michael Agello.
I'm perky Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
I have you beat. I didn't sleep at all last night, Mike. Not one bit. I've been up for 24 straight hours, 48 hours now, I guess.
God.
I'm Eklund. You're watching the HockeyBuzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is a podcast that comes every Monday through Friday at this time to fill you on the comings and goings. And why I was awake all night was this rumor chart has been the hardest one I put together in a long time. There's lots of crazy stuff going on, and I wanted to launch it this evening, which I'm hoping to do, because I figured since there's no games tonight, it'd be a good night to do it. So I'm really
oh no.
No games, I know. So I've been up last night, all night, trying to put it together. I mean, I wish someday I would love to do like a video of my process, because if I was disorganized when I was in college, I would have graduated with honors. But I'm so much more organized now than I was then, and I've got so many notes on so many players.
Well, you know what it is. Now you have responsibilities. Then, it's just like you didn't have to have a schedule.
Right. And this interests me. That's the other thing, too. Like, it interests me that where these players could be possibly heading. So So yeah, so that's look forward to. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be the best rumor chart we've done in years, and I think this summer is going to be the most interesting summer for rumors we've had in years as well. Big names and little names.
The rumor. I mean, the big rumor that I have for this summer is it's going to be in the 80s soon. That's it.
Yeah, at some point, right?
Why don't we start with Toronto, because we'll talk about that in a minute, but why don't we start with Washington and Columbus?
Yeah, let's start with Washington and Columbus.
The torch guarantee.
No, I heard a lot of people today just ripping Columbus. And I guess it's easy to do, but
it's hard to be positive, Ek.
Yeah.
What's there to be completely positive about in this series?
All right. Well, tomorrow, by the way, we might have a special guest on about Columbus for a couple minutes.
Sure.
Talk about that later. But yeah. So it is hard to be positive, but at the same time, Columbus and Philly really aren't that much different in terms of the fact that these are the two youngest teams in the NHL, and they were facing two of the juggernauts of the NHL. Like, I mean, and you got to remember that this Capitals team is a very good Capitals team. This Penguins team is a very good Penguins team, and they're both full of experience, and they're facing off against two of the youngest teams. And I know that Columbus hasn't won a series, and Columbus lost all their games at home, which is enormously
positive about that, Ek.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing positive about that, but at the same time, I mean, at the same time, they know, and I don't remember a team ever winning the first two games on the road and then losing a series in 6. But beyond that, I mean, this is really just a good Capitals team, I think.
Well, okay, I don't agree with that, but here, I'll give you. Is there reason for optimism in Columbus? Sure. I mean, I was talking to Russ before the show, and you look at the young group that they have, the Werenskis, the Seth Jones. Mm-hmm. You look at Pierre-Luc Dubois. I don't think he's a number one center as a prototype in terms of a guy who's going to score 80 points, but I think he's going to be a 20 to 25 goal scorer. He's a big body. He can maybe get 30 assists. He's going to be somebody you can match up against other teams' number one centers and not.
They have never had a superstar before, Mike, and now they have a superstar in Panarin.
Right. Now the thing is, in the offseason, they're going to have to pay him. They're going to have to get him signed because he's only got a year left in his contract.
And they will.
Right. But what came to the forefront in this series, I mean, okay, they win 2 overtime games in Washington. They have the Capitals by the throat. The Capitals go back to Holtby, and
yeah.
There was not enough there for the Blue Jackets. That's the problem. We've been saying about their lack of offense. They made some moves at the deadline that helped them in the short term. They were really hot going into the playoffs, adding Letestu, Cole, and Vanek. But really, the problem is that you're still heavily dependent on Jenner, Atkinson. Wenberg was hurt. Foligno. You really, other than Panarin and maybe Dubois as a 19-year-old, you really don't have like superstar or star level. I mean, these are all good players, but they're not stars.
Here's a wave of non-optimism. Besides not winning at home, besides beating just Grubauer and not beating Holtby even a game, besides giving up the lead in the series and giving life to the Capitals, looking past all that, Ek, David Savard's played like garbage. Like, this is a guy, last game he was a -1. He was a -2 on the Thursday game. He doesn't have a point. He basically was looking the other way when Ovechkin scored his first goal. He was actually in the wrong – he wasn't even looking – I don't know where he was looking. He was looking nowhere near Ovechkin. So if Sergei Bobrovsky wants to say he was good in this series, I might not disagree with him because the guys in front of him were horrible. Now, am I going to blame just the players? No, the coach has something to do with that too. So there's definite blame to go around besides the optimism that Mike spoke of. But you can't tell me that they didn't have a chance to beat this Capitals team, because they did, and they let go of that chance.
What I was saying was there's long-term optimism. There's young players. They've developed players well, but short-term, this was a choke job, Ek. I mean, they were up 2-0 in this.
Yeah, but they were up 2-0 on overtime.
And they were
overtime wins against Grubauer. Against Grubauer in overtime. I mean, and I'm not saying I have no problem with him.
You can't use that as a positive against Grubauer when Holtby got put in. You realize if Holtby was put in at the beginning, they might have gotten swept.
No. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's a positive. I'm just saying. I'm just saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that they didn't. This isn't a choke job, in my opinion. They were beaten.
I mean, I'm not calling for the GM's head. I'm not saying they were bad, but I'm just saying, again, a guy like David Savard, this is the thing. If the Columbus Blue Jackets want to get to that next level, you got to have more guys like Werenski and less guys like Savard. When they gave Savard that contract, I get their defense wasn't that great.
Right.
But now to have a guy like that there makes no sense to me.
And I don't know, was Jack Johnson injured or was he a healthy scratch? Because for a veteran guy to not play, I don't think he played. I didn't see him in the box score.
Don't know, and I kind of believe he was a healthy scratch for some reason.
Yeah, and if that's the case, then why didn't they trade him at the deadline? We knew that whole thing about him looking for a contract and him, dealing with that situation and not wanting to.
That. I mean, there is something to be said about, do they have to take a good look at Tortorella? And that's something that I think that
they definitely have to.
I think they have to, and I think that I don't, Tortorella. This is such a young team. It's so different.
As we've known for the past, Tortorella has a short lifespan when it comes to teams. Yeah, I don't think that it's reached that point with him there. Remember, he was just coach of the year a year ago, 2 years ago. I mean, he actually was a year ago. So I really think that the problem with the Blue Jackets right now is there's simply not enough offensive talent to contend with the Pittsburghs or the Washingtons in that division. Now, the thing is, I think whoever won this series is going to be the sacrificial lamb to the Penguins. So enjoy your victory, Washington, because you're going to get poleaxed by the Penguins when it comes into this series.
Okay.
So here's the thing.
Yeah.
Savard's getting paid $4.2.
Yeah, it was a bad contract.
Through 2021, Eck. That is a bad contract, and it's actually looking worse. Another guy that they have to somehow get rid of, but he has a modified no trade, is Brandon Dubinsky. This is a Torts guy.
What does he got? 2 more years?
No, he's got 3 more years at $5.8 million for basically a fourth liner. Like, again, they got him in a trade. I get all that stuff, but here at the end of the day, he is a Tortorella guy who is losing it quickly to play in this league because he never had foot speed to begin with.
Russ, that's a buyout candidate.
Yes.
That really is.
Unfortunately, I like Brandon. He's a really good guy, but he is not pulling his weight. He had 16.
And there was a lot of stuff with him this year, right? I mean, there was all kinds of, personal stuff that happened. So it's hard to say, if he can overcome that, he can still get his career back together. Maybe he still should have something left in the tank, but it depends on, a lot of different situations, right? I think I want to talk more about them tomorrow if we have our special guest.
Let's say this. Yeah. Forgetting about the regular season, he had 0 points in the playoffs for 5
points. No, there's no question he was a disappointment. I mean, all around. And so let's hold off on the Blue Jackets a little bit more because I think if we have somebody tomorrow, we'll get a chance to really get into them. No, and let's move on to the main event last night, which had to be Toronto and Boston. Crazy emotions, Mike, going on in that place. I mean, we talked about it because it just happened right before we went on the air yesterday, but we didn't know what was happening. It turns out 10 people are killed.
Right. I mean, it was funny because, and you don't realize this until something like this happens. You're really in sort of a cocoon when it comes to being at the arena on a game day, especially during a playoff situation. It happened probably 10 kilometers from the Air Canada Center on Yonge Street. I think it was more in North York than it was in the Toronto, in the city proper. But but really, when we were doing the webcast at 3:00, it was just starting to come out. There was multiple injuries, no idea of how. And then right after we got off, I go back into the media room and it says 9 people had been killed, and then a bulletin from the Leafs, because there was some speculation of are they going to cancel the game, because remember they canceled the game in Ottawa when I believe it was a Canadian soldier was killed by I think it was a terrorist act by someone, and they canceled the Leafs and Senators game, but it was determined there was all security down there anyway for the thousands of people at Maple Leaf Square, and they just upped the security and closed the streets. So it contributed to I would say the most poignant moment of the year. I mean, when Johnny Bauer passed away and when Gord Downie of the Tragically Hip passed away, and they had a moment of silence in the arena, and even when the and even when the 15 players for I'm struggling with the name of the
Humboldt.
Humboldt. Thank you. I'm sorry. It was very emotional. It was more emotional last night. You had people in the press box who had family who lived in those areas, and they hadn't heard from them or just touched base with them. So there was that raw emotion there, and you could just feel. There was no like "Go Leafs" yelled during the moment of silence like some people do. It was like you could hear a pin drop, and I give credit to Patrice Bergeron from the Bruins and Ron Hainsey, who both made statements before the game, saying that we're all together. And remember, 5 years ago was the year that the Boston Marathon bombing happened, and the whole Boston Strong thing. It came out right before the game, Toronto Strong, and that's probably going to be a theme for
of course,
for the Raptors playoffs and for the Leafs playoffs, however long it goes.
Good job. And actually, I guess Mike Zeisberger did an article on NHL.com, and apparently Brendan Shanahan probably thought about it for a quick second to not have the game. And so, I think it's, these are the kinds of tough decisions that you have to make as a GM, but I think the right decision was made, and and there was a game.
I think the right decision is made too, if for no other reason than the fact that their job and our job, and like I've always said many times, in the entertainment industry that we're in the entertainment industry as well, or at least we're hoping to be entertaining you during these shows.
We're on the fringe of it.
Is that to get away from the world for a little while, and it's not to be naive about it or not to sit there and say it doesn't exist, but also to not let people like this win and destroy other things, right?
And this was sort of an invasion of that. And after the game, Mitch Marner, who's from the Toronto area, Connor Brown, Zach Hyman, they all said something about the fact that this is a great city, Toronto, and obviously you don't want to see anything like this happen. But it really can happen anywhere. I mean, apparently this guy was just
I do want to say that. Like, I know a lot of Canadians always sort of look at the United States and say, well, look at those things happen in the United States that don't really happen here. It really can happen anywhere.
It's happened in France. It's happened in England.
It's happened everywhere. And no place. I mean, there's mentally ill people everywhere too, or and it's just, the reality is, and whether it's terrorism or just somebody's flipped, I mean, all you can hope for is that they don't hurt too many people, and I'm kind of relieved that it wasn't the square downtown during the game or something like that, which would have been absolute bedlam, right? So when you get thousands,
I don't even want to think about that.
Yeah, so I thought
that area. Let's just say this: that area is pretty secure.
Yeah, it seems like you can't get down there with a car or anything like that. I was really impressed with Babcock's post-game press conference too. Babcock is a good coach. He's a great coach, no question about it. But I think he's even better in situations like this. And I've always felt that about him. The couple things about him that really strike me, is that he is not one who misses the moment. He said it again last night. He talks about the fact that he wants his players before a game 7 to just enjoy the fact that they're going to play game 7,
right?
And that's something that is interesting on Babcock. And I like, and last night he talked a lot about in the press conference, which I know you were at, but I listened to the whole thing this morning, and I just think that he talked about how the team reacted to it. He talked about he talked about how important it was, and he really is sincere when he talks. And he comes off incredibly strong, and that's when you sort of see a coach how you want to see a coach. Like, you want to see a coach who is absolutely strong leader, priorities set straight, and for all the Babcock, he's got his detractors, he's got people who think he's overrated, stuff like that. He came out really, really strong.
Right. And you saw that in the aftermath of Humboldt. He was, he was really choked up and almost, in the presser in the morning after that tragic event happened, and yesterday as well, that he expressed, that he was able to express, the feeling of the team, and the feeling as a father, and as a, that kind of emotion. But moving on to what you were just saying about the game 7 having, I think that's lip service. I mean, honestly, I do. I mean, you want to have fun with it, but you also, I mean, what he's trying to do, and I think it's a laudable goal.
It's a brilliant thing.
Well, no, but I'm saying is what he's trying to do is he's trying to alleviate some of the pressure by saying have fun. But you know what? There's no way to alleviate the pressure. It's a game 7. I know these guys have played, some of them have played in the Olympics, some of them played in World Junior Gold Medal games. They're used to the pressure, but there's no alleviating that. There is pressure.
There's pressure.
There's always pressure. There's always pressure. Of course, they're professional hockey players and they're playing in it. They're playing for a team that has a huge following and all that stuff. And there's money involved in all that stuff. But at the same time, there was pressure in game 5 to me. Like there was pressure if you were going to get beaten in 5 games.
Yeah, no question there was pressure.
But if you're going to get, but there's no shame in the Leafs losing in 7 to Boston.
No, I agree. I mean, now that they've gotten to 7, it's a different deal.
The big thing in Toronto is the shame factor to me. Like if you are disappointment, I mean, there will be still people who will be disappointed for sure.
Yeah, but they're past that point. I agree.
If you by winning game 5 and 6 the way they did, they've saved their season from being a problem. And now they can.
I don't agree with that either. I mean, let's forewarning, because we made predictions. I predicted the Bruins were going to win in 7 games. I have to stick with that prediction because I'd be a hypocrite if I didn't. But
same thing, yeah.
It would be.
Yeah. So, but that being said, a game 7 is a dice roll. A game 7 is a coin flip. It can turn on one thing. So. Them beginning the 7 games against a team that has vast Stanley Cup and Olympic experience, has 2 or 3 Hall of Famers most definitely on it. Chara, Bergeron, maybe Marchand the way he keeps going. I mean, I think they're they've shown themselves, but they've also shown their flaws. And if they lose in 7 games, it's not a disaster. It's not a reason to go running and panicked in the streets, but it is a reason if they do lose for their management to say, okay, if for us to win this series the next time around, we've got to do this, this, and that. So
none of those flaws are news. Like they're not. But you have
to address them. That's the problem.
They were going. I thought. Don't you think they were going to address them anyway? I mean, this is. I don't get the impression that this.
Not necessarily. I mean, they've known that they need a top pairing or a top 4 defenseman for 2 years. They struck out at the draft last year. They struck out at the deadline. I think they were unwilling to trade some of the young players to get that defenseman.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think more than struck out, they didn't. There was nothing that was valuable enough for them to give up on one of their players. I mean, that's how they saw it. I mean,
right. But if there's an opportunity to get a Jacob Trouba or Noah Hannafin or someone like that in the summer, they better step up and do it, because all they're doing is, they keep falling short. If they do lose to Boston, and this is maybe a discussion we should have after game 7, because if they win, then whatever, then everything.
But if they win, I don't get the impression with this management group that it's going to change, that their offseason is going to change whether if they win game 7 or not. Like, I think in the past that has been the case in Toronto, but I don't think that this group is going to change. I get the impression that they know that they have to do that. I get the impression that they will trade Nylander for Trouba or something like that if they have to make that move. But I think that they won't trade Nylander for, I don't know, like,
Ekman Larson and then have him walk in a year.
Or Corey Franzen. I mean, they're not going to, they're going to make smart moves, right? But at the same time, they're still they're smart enough to know that this defense is terrible at times. They're smart enough to know that they need that they're counting on Hainsey way more than they can expect.
Well, and this is the thing. And right now the Leafs' best player throughout the 6 games has been Mitch Marner. He's leading the team with 8 points. He's been the most consistent, I would say, of all of their non-goaltenders.
Yeah.
The reason this series got to game 7 is Freddie Anderson.
Yeah, no, he definitely.
There's no doubt in my mind. He stood on his head in game 5. He played wonderfully last night.
Yeah.
If they're gonna win this series in 7 games, he's gonna have to play the way he did in game 5 and shut the Bruins down late in the game. But the reason for that is because yesterday in the second period, with the game tied 1-1, they could not get the puck out of their zone without Boston intercepting it for about 7 minutes. It was pathetic. They couldn't win a faceoff. They couldn't get it out of the zone. At the end of the second, they were leading 2-1. And I was talking to somebody in the press box and saying, how the hell is this team leading?
I'll tell you, but I'm going to give you something that was pathetic. And, I know I've talked about it before this season. The eye-hand coordination on Rick Nash is bad. Like
Oh.
you saw when he was in front of the net, like he had 3 glorious chances in one sequence to knock it in on Rask, and he just couldn't do it. Here's the thing. He's played 6 games. He's a -3. He's had 22 shots for 1 goal, 22 shots. And if you want to say he plays great in the other ways, well, he has 6 hits, 3 blocks, 2 giveaways, 2 takeaways. I got to tell you something. I know they're going to play him, but I'm telling you, I think Bruce Cassidy is getting too comfortable playing guys like that and hoping they're going to produce.
Well,
they've got a lot of guys that are not producing.
There was some mention on one of the radio shows in Toronto this morning of, are they going to play Ryan Donato, because Donato played well down the stretch.
Played 1 game.
Yeah, but he's only played 1 game, and that was when Wingles got knocked out by Kadri in game 1, and he played in game 2. And you look at that, and you look at how impressed. And Donato is not a 19-year-old coming out of junior. He's played 3 years of college hockey, and played in the Olympics. So I think he can handle it. But Cassidy is sticking with the group that he has, and he's not deviating from that. There might be one tweak or whatever, but it doesn't sound like it's going to be.
Come back and bite them. If they lose a game 7 and they lose it because they couldn't put the puck in the net, it's going to come back and bite them. And this is the stubbornness act that we talk about with coaches. Here's the thing. If I'm going to have a big bench like of offensive players in a game 7, do I want to have like Sean Corrali or Noel Arcari, or do I want to have a Ryan Donato there who, even if I'm only playing 8 minutes, I could throw out there once in a while who has a big shot, who might get a goal, where these other guys, I know they're pretty much not scoring.
Well, the one thing, Russ, that is going to be interesting, came out today in the media availability in Toronto, that Leo Komarov is healthy enough to play in game 7. And we know that Babcock loves Leo Komarov, trusts him as a veteran guy. And the question is, who will they take out of the lineup if to me, him saying Komarov is healthy enough to play means he's going to be in game 7.
Oh yeah, he's playing. I wouldn't say it otherwise.
Right, but the thing is that it's the whole, well, do you mess with a lineup that's won 2 games in a row? And I'm trying to think, okay, which of these players will he sit in favor of Komarov in game 7? And up until him scoring a goal yesterday and playing a good game, I thought there was a chance it might be Nylander, because Nylander had been moved down to the 4th line. Now I'm thinking it might be Kasperi Kapanen, because Kasperi Kapanen has turned into the Finnish Michael Grabner in this series. He's had 3 breakaways. He's been stoned on every single one of them. And I'm not saying he's not playing well, because he is, and he's been part of their penalty kill, but I think Babcock wants that veteran guy in game 7 that he can depend on. That's why I think Komarov's going to get in the lineup.
Yeah. Here's the funny thing. And actually, Corrali does have 4 points, so I probably shouldn't.
No, their 4th line is the Boston.
I know, but here's the guys, okay? They literally have Pasternak with 8 points, Krug with Pasternak with 11 points, Krug with 8, Marchand with 7, Bergeron 5, Krejci 5, DeBrusk 5. After that, it's Corrali, and then there's nobody. Like, it's 2 points out of Miller, 2 out of Schaller, 2 out of McQuaid, 2 out of Backus,
1 out of Chara, probably
1 out of Nash. I'm just saying, you go look down the list, and there's a long list of guys who, Arcari's got 2 points. Like, there's a long list of guys that you could take out and insert Ryan Donato, and at least just to have him in there in case you need a big moment where, guess what? Whether it's a 4-on-3, whether it's a power play situation, I'm going to put Ryan Donato out on every power play because he's got that kind of shot. I get you want to play it safe. And look, I like Corrali, right? He's got good speed, and you're going to tell me the 4th line's great, but I'm telling you, it ain't great lately, and they need to get goals. And if they don't get goals, the Leafs have a chance of beating them.
Yeah, let's just say this, and it's not laziness. It's not falling back on history or on the similarities. This series mimics 2013. The Leafs were down 3-1. They in Game 5 in Boston in 2013. Reimer stood on his head, saved their butt in the 3rd period. They won a tight game. It was 3-1 yesterday. It was 2-1 in 2013, and they go to Game 7. I just hope for Leaf fans. I mean, there's no guarantee they're going to win. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I just hope that this Leafs team does not get up 4-1, and then what happened in 2013 happens again, because one time is traumatic enough. Twice.
I'm just saying the scary part. Yes, I agree with you. I'm saying the scary part for the Bruins, like, you know, in the chat room, they're like, well, fourth line stays intact. Yeah, that's great. And they might go home. The Bruins may go home packing with that fourth line intact, because if Pasternak doesn't score, all of a sudden there's a big lack of scoring on this team. And
I don't think the fourth line is the problem, Russ. I think it's the second. I think it's the second and third line. Other than Jake DeBrusk,
somebody has to sit. There's too many guys that are cold.
Right. Other than Jake DeBrusk, who, you know, got the only goal yesterday, there, Backus really hasn't scored a ton except on the power play. Yeah. You've got Krejci. Krejci has not been good.
5 points at least.
Yeah. I mean, yes. I mean, but he's out there. He's a veteran guy. He's been in Stanley Cup wars before, but it's all that Bergeron. It's all Bergeron, Pasternak, and Marchand
scoring. That's my point. They need a more dynamic offense, especially in a Game 7, just because things are going to be tight. And boy, if you're just sitting around waiting for that goal to happen, that ugly, dirty goal, it could happen to you. And then all of a sudden, what happens if the Boston Bruins go home tomorrow? They lose Game 7. They're out in the first round.
Right.
That's a massive disappointment. Like, that is something where all of a sudden people are going to be talking about that and complaining about that, and there'll be a big discussion about that.
I'll tell you who will take a lot of heat, and he's taken heat at times in the last couple of years, is Tuukka Rask, because Tuukka Rask, I've heard complaints from a couple Boston reporters that I just talked on the side with, and it was like that Marner goal. It was a backhander. It was inside the far post. It was like, well, he's got to have that. And he really, in the last 2 games, Anderson has outdueled Rask. Anderson's made the big save when it was needed, and Rask has it. Now, Rask carried them to the final in 2013. He's been a great goaltender for them. But, there's been criticism of him before. And in this year,
there's no option for him. Like, you could criticize him all you want. Right. Management could look at the situation. There is no antidote for him. He's back next year. They don't have anybody they can bring up instead of him. There's nobody they can get in a trade.
But I think what the criticism here is that this year there was no injury. There was that he was rested well. And if he doesn't come through, then it's like, okay, this guy can't get us to the promised land.
Right, so what do you do? Well, you're
not going to go to Anton Khudobin.
They're still kind of stuck with him. They'll probably limit his games even more, maybe a few less games next year. But, so in the chat room, they say, hey, sit Danton Heinen. That's fine. Sit Heinen, sit Schaller, sit Nash. There's so many guys that I can tell you to sit on this team. They need more scoring because they're relying on just 3 or 4 guys to get it done. That's really what it boils down to.
Yeah, it really does. So before we get into the Nashville Winnipeg, which is what I want to talk about next, I'm gonna have a new little segment here, because as many of you guys probably know or remember from before, I am a collector and I love obscure hockey references or games or things that all over. And I have a book that if I see somebody wearing like a hockey jersey in a movie, I'll write it down. Like I have this thing about hockey and weird hockey things, and so I wanted to have this little segment called, as we go into the summer, just the middle of the show, sort of a break from, and if you guys have anything, let me explain how this works. So, it's going to be called X Addict, and the idea is I'll bring up something from the past that you probably haven't seen or may have known, and if sometimes these things you can buy them on eBay or buy them, kind of fun. I might, if something's cheap out there, I may buy it and actually have it here, but otherwise, I'll just bring up the little thing. And if you guys have some kind of weird old hocky thing,
you have no idea how much I have. That's great.
No, I know, like something strange and some like obscure game. Like we had the trade deadline game, that was really funny at the trade deadline last year, which was put out by the NHLPA one year, which is really hilarious. So but here's a good one, because I brought this one up specifically because you talked about the WWE today.
Right.
Do you know that there was a WWE hockey game?
I did not know that.
All right, ready for this? So, okay, I'm going to bring it up now. I will show you guys the Hey, let me share the.
I'm
share
sure.
the window.
I'm sure Chris Jericho kicked some ass.
Yeah,
All right,
Jericho.
so ready? Here we go. This I'll play it for you now. I'm gonna unmute it. Here we go.
1991. Wow.
1991.
Mean Gene Okerlund doing the play-by-play.
So they got the big boss man there, Randy Savage, Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, there it is. So it's the WWF Remco Ice Hockey Shootout. And it's,
They have no Canadians. They should have gone with Bret Hart and Chris Jericho. Like they're not showing one Canadian.
right, so
I think Jericho was in 91. I think wasn't he in WCW or
here's the actual guys, and you guys will know who
Jake the Snake Roberts.
So he says Snake is a hockey stick, which is pretty funny.
Macho Man Randy Savage.
Paul McCann in the upper right hand corner here. Paul McCann,
That's Ted DiBiase.
There's Tugboat.
Now is that Hulk Hogan in the top?
This will be Hulk Hogan up in the left, I think.
Kurt Hennig. Kurt Hennig was a great athlete.
They've got Randy Savage, Big Boss Man, Jake
the Snake Roberts. We said, yeah.
The guy in the lower right looks like Rick Martel. And then the guy in the middle here looks like Big John Studd.
Yeah. I don't know if it was Big John. That was a little after his time, I think.
No, I think he was still around. Oh, Jim Duggan. That's true. Jim Duggan.
Hacksaw Jim Duggan. There you go.
This is ridiculous. Like, I mean, what is
Shawn Michaels on the bottom left? The guy.
How does this ever happen? Like, so I was looking at it. Here there's like, I was looking through the whole, looking for it, and online if you were to buy it. Now you can buy the figures for $60 on Etsy. I would never buy this. I'm not a wrestling person, but I think this is really funny if you are. But if you want to actually buy the game, actually you can buy 6 figures here for $20. If you want to actually buy the game, it's going to cost you on the average on eBay $400.
Wow. It's a collector's item now.
Yeah, $400. So I don't know. I thought that was pretty funny. So that's X
cool. I love it.
Yeah, X Addict for today. If you guys have any ideas for this, you could either throw it into the chat room on YouTube at the beginning of the show. We could look up some stuff, or if you just want to email me at eklund@hockeybuzz.com and put X Addict.
There you go.
Subject. We'll pop it up there tomorrow. Tomorrow I have Kevin Allen on the air, so we got something really kind of fun from media.
I'll show you something tomorrow from I want to say the 40s.
Wow, cool. So that's this. Yeah. So I think this will be fun to do, and we hope you guys like it. All right. So moving on. Let's talk a little bit about Nashville and Winnipeg. Now this may be the 2 best teams in the NHL. In my mind, this series,
I disagree.
It's perfectly fine to disagree. You're wrong, but you can disagree.
Because again, you're going to overlook the team that has won 2 consecutive cups and say that the 2 teams of which one will get eliminated are better than the Penguins. Come on.
Well, yeah. Well, one of them has to get eliminated because they play each other. It's not their fault for getting eliminated. First off. Secondly, the fact is,
no, it's the NHL's fault for having this playoff system.
It is the NHL's fault.
I do not believe that. I don't know. I don't know. I do not believe the Penguins are the Penguins of the last 2 years. I don't think last year's Penguins was as good as the year before Penguins.
They never are, but they know how to win. That's the funny thing about them.
Yeah,
they weren't great against the Flyers. The Flyers.
The only thing that will mitigate their potential success of getting to the finals for the 3rd straight year is if Malkin's injury that happened in the Flyers series is serious enough that he misses time in the Capital series. That's the only way the Capitals have a chance.
Mike, think about this. They didn't have Malkin in the final game. They still won it in 6.
And they scored 8 goals. Yeah.
And they scored 8 goals. Like what?
Yeah. But they also gave up what? They gave up 5 goals in that game on 20 shots. I mean, Murray was proven beatable in this series. Like this was probably Murray's worst series in his career. Like he's won all 9 playoff series, so it's hard to sit there and say that. But
they got through it without a problem.
But he really did well, not without a problem. I mean, not necessarily. I mean,
they won in 6. Like it's like, what problem did they have? The last game they won going away. They blew them out in the 3rd period. What else do you need?
Yeah, they blew them out, but we talked about the missed call and that game.
But it doesn't matter. These are the end results. We're talking. All right.
This is not about that, but we can fight that. We can fight about this later. I think that Nashville and Winnipeg are the 2 best teams left in the league, and they're going to play each other right now. And I think the winner of this has a shot at winning the Stanley Cup. I'm not saying they're going to, but these are this interesting. this is going to be a hell of a series. I mean, I think the first round left a little bit to be desired, but I think the second round matchups are not going to. I think the second round matchups are going to be pretty amazing.
Can I say this was possibly the worst first round I can remember?
I agree with you. I do agree with you. I think if the Vegas story doesn't happen, this round would have been horrible. I mean, absolutely. Without the Vegas story saved it for me.
It didn't because
and this Toronto Boston series is,
it was a sweep. I think the Vegas thing would have been more.
Yeah, but all four of those games were good games. Though. I mean,
they were good games, but there weren't enough of them. Is what I'm saying.
I agree with that. I mean, they were really good games. I mean, there have been more games in this first round that didn't feel like playoff games in any first round I can remember. Like that felt like regular season games. Like, you know,
I don't think anything felt regular season. I just think you're missing. I think what we're missing is like all the overtimes and everything else. There weren't as many. Yeah. But I think that's fair criticism.
I think what contributed to the non-playoff feel is the ramping up of suspensions, which is which gives you more of a regular season vibe than anything. I mean, honestly, I think some of the hits that have been suspendable for one game or whatever. I don't think the Kadri hit was a 3-game suspension. I think it was a 1 or a 2. I don't think the Doughty suspension was even a 1-game suspension. I think it was, you know, if he got a 5 in a game, that would have been sufficient. I think they're trying to send messages here. I think there's been some bad calls in terms of goalie interference. I thought the goalie interference last night in the Toronto-Boston game was friggin' ridiculous.
It had potential to be really disastrous because if
I don't know if it was ridiculous. I watched it 2 or 3 times.
It was close.
I can't call it ridiculous. It was close.
Well, my assertion, and it's, you know, I believe me, I've had this discussion back and forth with somebody who thought it was valid, is the fact that Rask puts his stick down on the ice and Hyman runs into it. Now he wouldn't be running into it if he didn't put his stick across the crease and outside of the blue paint. He basically trips Hyman, and Hyman, as he's falling back.
I agree. Yeah,
that's true. But what they're doing, Mike, is they're sort of creating this
zero tolerance. Is what?
No, not zero tolerance. This bubble that exists around the goalies that the same as a quarterback in the NFL. Like, they get all the space they want, and if you impede on that space and a goal is scored, it doesn't matter.
Well, then I'd like to know where the hell that bubble was when Freddie Anderson got elbowed in the head by David Backes, because they didn't even call a 2-minute penalty on that, and that was
that play too, and that was a typical Backes dirty play that should have been called.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I mean, I think the first round did leave a little bit to be desired, but I think the second round has some serious potential because I think that you know, and sometimes the second round can be the worst round in the playoffs. I found.
I'd like to save the detailed analysis of that series until we have Peter on the show. But I'll tell you one thing and we've got 3 matchups. By the way, the Jeff Vinnick comment this morning about somebody, he was doing some event in Tampa at some Marriott hotel that's grounds either being broken or it's being opened. I don't know if he has something to do with it. I would assume he does. Yeah. And he was asked about Game 7 of Boston and Toronto, and he basically said, "I hope they go 4 overtimes and kill each other." I mean, I like those comments. That's real. That's good.
I mean, that's what players joke about all the time. You know, I mean, Vinnick's a good guy. He really is one of the better guys out there. I mean, the only thing I'll say about Nashville Winnipeg, and we will definitely get into it with Peter, but there's one thing about this series in the regular season that is shocking when these teams played this year. And again, Mike, I'm going to see if you I'm going to see if at the end of all this, if your predictions can beat the predictions of the matchups, because that's the bet we have here that I've been doing, because Mike doesn't believe in matchups. I'm going to think the matchups are going to beat him. We'll see what happens. But there's something. So this series was Nashville won 3 of the 5 games. And the one of the losses, so they were 3-1-1. So one of the losses was in overtime. So the Jets only won 1 game in regulation. But the crazy stat about those 5 games, 45 goals scored in 5 games by both teams. So an average of 9 goals a game. All right, for 2 teams that have 2 Vezina Trophy candidates on them. Like, I mean,
that was regular season. It's gonna
still though. It's this still. I mean, that's crazy, isn't it? I mean, Hellebuck and Rene.
Winnipeg's got one of the most potent offenses in the league, and Nashville is no slouch either. I mean, without getting into a detailed analysis here, I think the determining factor in this series is that Winnipeg's defense, I think, is playing a little hurt with Myers and just coming back off an injury. And Nashville's defense is, I think, the best in the league. So
I'd like to give you a fluffier reason, Mike, a much easier one, and that is Nashville is very, very experienced. Winnipeg is not.
Right. Yeah. Now, I think Winnipeg has got a puncher's chance in this series.
I think they do too.
Yeah,
this is going to be the toughest series for the Predators.
This is appointment television, honestly, folks. I mean, this is the series I want to watch every moment of every game. I mean, I'll probably fall asleep during Vegas and San Jose, not because it's going to be boring, but because it's starting at 10:30. But and most of the Winnipeg Nashville games will probably start at 8.
I bet they're going to start at 10. I bet they're going to start at 9:30 or 10. That's what they tend to do. They want to have the doubleheader thing going, so they push Nashville. Nashville had a lot of late starting games. Nashville games starting at 8:30.
Okay, I mean that's
game starting at 8:30 Nashville time.
Yeah,
so that's 9:30. Well, I mean you're gonna have some overlap because if it's Tampa, Boston
treatment.
Yeah, I mean, and we know, and this will be the interesting thing. We know what series is going to get NBC national network coverage. It's gonna be Ovechkin Crosby.
Oh yeah, I mean it's not even a question.
Even though that's not the most compelling series, it may be, I'd say, the third most compelling. I think it's gonna get because you got the big names, you got the history of the one-sided history of that rivalry. It's probably gonna be Pittsburgh Washington that gets that Saturday night spot on NBC.
Well, of course, because and I'll tell you what, Eck, before you answer, I think the reason they will do that is because those are the names the casual sports.
Oh, yeah, there's no question about it. There's no question about that, and that they have to do that. But I honestly think that let's go with if it's Boston Tampa or Toronto Tampa, it changes things a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit in the US. I mean, honestly, the Nashville Winnipeg series is going to be an amazing series, but what a crazy terrible series for them for ratings. I mean, Winnipeg Nashville is not. I mean, they're for hockey fans, it's going to be phenomenal, but you're not going to get a lot of outside people tuning in to see it. I mean,
yeah, that'll be on the Golf Channel.
It'll be Vegas, San Jose will have a lot more hype to it. And Washington, Pittsburgh. Those two series will definitely be the two. And Boston, Tampa, Toronto, Tampa. I mean, it depends.
I can see someone from Staten Island Hustle singing the anthem in Nashville. I can.
Oh yeah. Let's go to Vegas, San Jose for a second, okay? Because this is the series now. Okay, this Vegas won 3 of 4 games they played this year. They won one of them in overtime. San Jose's only win came in overtime. 4 games, 25 goals. All right, so let's again another series, high scoring games. That's again you're talking about average of 6 goals a game.
That's not that high scoring. I mean, if that's 4-2,
that's 4-2.
It's not ridiculous. It's not ridiculous.
But when you consider what we just saw from Vegas, right, which was like 1-0, 2-1, 2-0.
Right, and Vegas. And that's what you're probably going to get more if Vegas is going to make this a series against San Jose. You're going to get more 2-1, 1-0. It's going to be playoff style, strapped down defensive. It's going to be Martin Jones versus Marc-Andre Fleury. There's talk about Thornton coming back. It's going to be that type of series.
Well, and it would bear out to do too that they played the first time they played on November 24th. Vegas wins 5-4 in overtime. The second time they play on February 8th, Vegas wins 5-3.
Right.
But the last 2 times they play, March 22nd and March 31st. So really not too long ago, right at the end of the season, San Jose wins 2-1 in overtime.
Yeah.
And Vegas wins 3-2. So when it all comes down to it, again,
it's
hold on. Let him finish. So what's the matchup?
No, so when it all comes down to it, when you think about it, okay, Vegas doesn't lose any. They won all their home games in the series.
Right.
And I think that, when it all comes down to it, Vegas has the advantage in the matchups here for sure.
So Vegas is the favorite.
Yeah, so they would be the favorite in this series.
Okay, I'm just making sure you set Vegas as the favorite because they are.
Oh,
yes.
Vegas is the favorite now, and I said that.
But they weren't a favorite against Los Angeles.
They sure as hell weren't. No, they sure. I mean, listen. All right, let's define favorite.
Sorry,
the team favorite.
All right, if there are two women in a room, okay,
and I'm a happy man,
and all them, yeah, that's two more than usual, Mike. But if there are two women in the room, and there are 25 guys, and 23 of them think that Marianne is the woman, and 2 of them think that Ginger's a woman, who is the favorite?
This is not up for debate, though. This is somebody.
No, but I'm saying why I say that is everyone was favoriting the Kings in the first round. I mean, they were, every pundit, if you went through, 23 out of 25 were picking the Kings. That makes the Kings the favorite. They are the favorite team.
No,
that is not what makes
it was the Vogue pick, Act, because people still do not believe that Vegas is for real.
Oh, I'm not saying that.
But they were first place in the
matter
division,
if it's Vogue. It doesn't matter if Marianne's a real jerk and Ginger's a nice person. They're still the favorite. They were the team that were picked more than the other teams, so that makes them the favorite.
Ginger's the redhead, so she's the one I pick.
Bottom line. Whoever's picked more is the favorite. That is the way things work.
No, that is not the bottom line. That is not the way it works.
Yes, it is. That is definition of favorite.
No, it's not.
Anyway,
how else are you going to determine favorite then?
The team that finished higher in the standings.
The team that finished higher in the standings on the Vegas line. That is how a favorite is determined. It's not a popular vote, Eck. It's not about
because it's literally you're saying the word favorite. That's literally a popular vote. That is the definition of a popular vote.
Maybe the Kings won in the Electoral College, but yes.
Anyway, I think a lot of those pundits who picked Vegas
right now, Vegas is 5-1 to win the cup, and San Jose is 10.
Right.
So who's the favorite? Vegas.
Vegas is the favorite because everyone's going to pick Vegas. That makes them the favorite. That's how it works.
It's not because everybody's going to pick them. I don't think everybody's going to pick them. But that's
I think more pundits will pick Vegas than San Jose in this series.
Right, because now they've won a first-round series and more people believe in them.
Right, exactly. And that makes them the favorite. That is what favorites are. How is this not obvious? Come on, help me out, somebody out there.
Nobody's helping you.
I don't have the chat room open, but
you're on an island, Ack.
Does the chat room agree with
Marianne?
I have to open the chat room and find out. They agree with me, right?
Open it up. You'll see.
They disagree with me.
They do. They say handicappers decide the favorite. DB said that. Goalie FP Vegas is -125. They're
in the King series. We're not the Kings the favorite. People do not think the Kings were the favorite, even though everyone picked them.
No, it was not everyone.
Nobody had the Kings as a favorite, even though they picked them.
Every prognosticator is going to pick a dark horse. Is going to pick a team that they think is the team that is going to be the upset. And
that's stupid.
What team is the most skeptical?
One guy, Connor Kitchings, said that the Kings were the favorites.
Yeah, bless you, Connor.
Well, Connor, you're a
smart man.
Clueless.
No, you're just a smart guy because that's the definition of favorite.
There's a few that agree with that now.
It's the definition of the word favorite. Goodness, this is not complicated.
So there you go.
Jeez, thank you guys. I mean, it's not complicated. I picked Vegas to win the series, and you guys both picked the Kings to win the series.
Yes,
but but overall,
that was a dark horse pick.
No, but you see, and if you're picking that, Mike, that's stupid. Like if you're picking, I'm sorry to call you stupid, but if you're just gonna say I got to pick one dark horse, I hate that logic. That doesn't make any sense.
I'm just saying that it's like picking in the NCAA tournament, and you always pick a number 12 over a number 5 because there's
who's the favorite in Washington, Pittsburgh?
Yeah,
Pittsburgh. Washington. Favorite.
Why?
Because way more people will pick Pittsburgh because Pittsburgh has destroyed Washington in all the playoff series.
That's fair. That's true.
I mean, and so
that way it works for you. That's true.
It always works. Whoever picked more is the favorite.
It does not.
Is the favorite if he gets elected by the right way. But no, I'm just saying that the whole thing at the end of the day. Anyway, I mean, this is stupid. But Mike,
this is stupid. So Eck is just going to take
the NCAA
and he's going to go home.
Listen, I'm taking my ball. I'm getting out of here. Now, the NCAA thing, the correlation you're trying to draw there is like that's like 64 teams in like Western Missouri who never plays against
I know,
Kansas.
I know, but
Mike
that's
ate them.
that's the logic
But
behind
no,
it.
that makes sense if you're doing that. Maybe if you're like us and we don't know basketball like inside and out. But if we know hockey inside and out, you can't just in an eight series of teams that we know inside and out. You can't just say I'm going to pick a dark horse.
And going into that series, you think you've got Doughty, you've got Quick, you've got
you're picking the Kings because they're the Kings, not because they're the one dark horse you're going to pick. No one saw the Kings as a dark horse. I completely disagree that the Kings were a dark horse in that.
10 days before the end of the season, they weren't in a playoff spot. They were a dark horse.
No. Well, when they're not in a playoff spot, sure, but once that series was set with Vegas, there was no way you could call the Kings a dark horse. I mean, they have how many Stanley Cups they have among them. Anyway, I do think we'll see a change, and I think we'll see people picking Vegas. And one thing I did say, okay, and I remember this before this Vegas King series, I was on this. We had Kevin Allen on, and I said I thought that the fact that Vegas wasn't the favorite worked to their advantage, and that I thought that the one thing that would be really tough to put on a team like that is an expansion team is to set the expectation that they're going to beat a team that won 2 Stanley Cups and has a bunch of players on there still. Now things change. This is going to be a harder series for Vegas.
So Nashville's the favorite, right?
What was that?
Nashville's the favorite over Winnipeg, right?
Yes, Nashville will be the favorite.
So everybody in Canada will pick Winnipeg, right?
No, they won't.
Oh, I bet a lot will. I bet.
Well, Don Cherry picked Winnipeg. Don Cherry picked Winnipeg to play in the Stanley Cup final.
I don't know how dumb you think Canadians are, Russ, but Canadians are not that dumb. Canadians are going to pick.
EA Sports picked the Winnipeg Jets to be in the Stanley Cup. It's not about just Canadians. I'm telling you, there's a lot of people that will pick Winnipeg.
Yes. There are a lot of people, and there won't be a clear. I think you might be right. There's not a clear-cut favorite in this.
That is Canadian parochialism that happens during the playoffs. It's that let's rally behind that one team, but it doesn't go for it. It'll go for Winnipeg because Winnipeg is lovable and they're a young team and they're exciting.
I mean, in the marketplace,
it won't go for Toronto because everybody hates Toronto because it's the big city and everybody thinks that Toronto is like the den of iniquity or like Sodom and Gomorrah or something like that. I don't know.
Ron and Don, you know who they are. They both did, like Mike knew one of them did. They both picked the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah. Okay, but we'll see. I'm gonna track as much as I can and see who picks more. I do believe that at the end of the day, the Predators will be picked more often to win by pundits than the Jets are. But I don't know. I might be wrong. And you know what? This is a toss-up series to me, so I'm not going to say that there's like a.
Don't go on Twitter because you can't use guys from like Duck Dynasty.
No. I'm not going to Duck Dynasty. I'm going to try. I'll go Sportsnet. I'll go.
Great Duck Dynasty.
TSN and Bob's Hockey Market, and we'll go to those places and things like that. We'll find all the people out there.
Can't go to Sheets and just start asking people what they think either.
I can't go to Sheets.
Let's go to Buffalo Wild Wings.
Hold on. There's a Sheets. If you drive on your way to not too far from you,
really
to Scranton, there's a Sheets.
There's a Sheets.
I don't even know what Sheets is.
It's a gas station / food place / place to go and sit in line forever if you got.
I think you can even take a shower there, if I'm not mistaken.
It's like take a shower there.
It's like a truck stop, basically.
Oh God, great, wonderful.
Yeah, so that's what it is. So anyway,
sounds like a poor man's Sonic.
Yes. No, it is pretty much a Sonic. It's actually probably a rich man, but Sonic's probably a poor man's Sheets, to be honest. But anyway.
Okay.
So now Sonic's got better food though. Are you talking about the Sonic restaurant?
Yes.
No. This is Sheets is a truck stop.
Okay.
Sheets is where you can buy like a circa 1997 Garmin GPS. Like you can get like a big clunking GPS, even though that's on your phone.
You could get like the plastic hat that has the holes in the back. If you need a hat that's like made out of like styrofoam in the front, like
right, or it's something you stick on the back of your truck that has like Calvin peeing on anything you can pretty much imagine.
Right. Pork rinds, you can get pork rinds there.
Pork rinds, right? You can get
So it sounds like Trader Joe's is what it sounds like.
No, it's not Trader Joe's.
What are you talking about?
What do you think Trader Joe's is?
Just kidding. Just joking.
Trader Joe's.
On that note.
Wow, it is completely different than Trader Joe's.
Before we go, I have to bring up supermarkets real fast, and then we'll get out of here. Because we have really near us, we have a Whole Foods, which my wife and I have nicknamed Whole Check Whole.
Oh, the one on 309.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We nicknamed it whole paycheck, and not
Check,
it's not Whole Foods. Whole Foods is absolutely absurd. Like the prices now, it opened up right next to a Giant.
Yeah.
Which is like just a really reasonably priced supermarket, and it's unbelievable to me that we live in a society that this can happen. Like that.
Oh no! In Buffalo, a Whole Foods opened up here, and it's across the street from Walmart.
That's astonishing, isn't it? I mean, I can't even like if I had. I'm not rolling in money, but if I had money, I could not even justify like I went going into Whole Foods. It's just astonishing to me. I mean,
I used to shop there because the food was fantastic, but it did get.
Oh yeah, no, the food is incredible.
It is, but they did get to be too pricey. But if you want one thing to look at, go to YouTube and look at the Whole Foods parking lot. It's a really funny thing, and it's true about every Whole Foods.
Yeah, you see a bunch of Porsche Cayennes and like.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, and if you want to get a good like a good sea bass for your in-laws that are coming over, you go to Whole
That's
Foods.
the place, man.
Yeah,
right,
but that's the place. But if you're gonna get anything else,
just out of curiosity, I went in when the Whole Foods opened up here, and I went into like the bakery section, and they had this unbelievable loaf of rye bread, and I said, okay, I'm gonna buy this, no matter what the price is, and it was great, but it was $12.
Oh, I know.
Never again. It was not a $12 good. Sorry, folks.
Oh, I know. I went into Whole Foods just the day it opened to see what it was like, and I bought like a donut and something else, and it was like $15. I went to Giant and I bought.
Come on, no. Executive challenge that. No way, no how. Because I stop at Whole Foods even coming back from like a from hockey games in Princeton, and no, you could get like a muffin and a drink there, and it's like $7-8. It's
I got a donut and I got the homemade chips, like tortilla chips, which are really good.
There's more to it. See,
those are really good. Yeah, I got that, and I may have gotten like a magazine or something like that. It ended up but it was like $15, and I went into Giant and I got like 25 pizzas, frozen things, all this stuff, for like $14. It was like ridiculous. It was like insane. Anyway, that's all we have to say about that.
Okay.
No hockey tonight, but do keep an eye on Hockey Buzz. Might be something fun later to check out. So if any luck, unless I completely collapse and fall asleep on my face because I haven't slept for a couple days here, we should have something fun tonight. If not, we will have it tomorrow. Tomorrow we will have Kevin Allen on the air. We may have another surprise guest as well. And I guess we'll have Peter, so we could have a pretty full-fledged.
Yeah.
We'll get into our predictions for the Western Conference tomorrow, in depth, and then I think that I guess those games will be starting on. I'm guessing the
Thursday, Friday, probably.
Yeah, West on Thursday, East on Friday, probably something like that.
Yeah.
Or they'll probably start Pittsburgh. They'll start Pittsburgh, Washington, and on Thursday.
No, I think they'll wait to them on a Friday probably because
they're probably going to alternate East-West, and depending on what happens with Boston and Tampa, I mean, it could affect this or Boston and Toronto.
Thursday's a big NBC night for viewing. I bet you they put them on Friday.
Well, no, I'll tell you what will affect Russ is the NFL draft. I think they'll skip.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, the NFL draft.
They'll skip Thursday and go Friday.
Yep.
So
Friday. I sure hope not. I hate all these off nights. Anyway, we'll see. Okay. Remember that the buzz is just hockey. We will talk to you tomorrow.